Hello and welcome to Rauta's Reviews. This time we have a very indie project going on, but I decided to review it independently rather than putting it into Underground Trio episode because this one was delivered me prior to the release date by the very artist himself. So why not do the favor and talk about it, because I always want to thank those who sent stuff me before the release date. Helps me with the calendar work as such. And obviously, like mentioned, I didn't pay for this. This was delivered me by the very band, or one man by himself. This is Synthre, and this is the first release by the band so far. Very simplistic EP digipack in CDR format. As you can see, this is not exactly a very pricey release, very budget oriented. It's CDR, no booklet, no information. So I guess it's partially because of the budget. I was told this was very much funded by the very band, the one person only. And of course, maybe there is this mystery layer that is very much needed in case you want to do music without so-called outside information or whatever bothering the stuff. But as you can see, very simple yet kind of a neat looking digipack. And musically, this is more interesting than what this CD gives you an impression of. Here on Metal site, this mentions avant-garde black metal, but I think it's quite misleading, even though I kind of get the idea where it's coming from. And as you can see, there is no information basically apart from being from Finland, no location. I roughly know it's capital area, maybe Espoo, but not sure. Capital area Finland anyway. Format doesn't mention here, but we can put roughly it's in 2025, 2024. It doesn't matter, because what matters is when you do your first thing. That's pretty much the real starting point. And as you can see, years active are not mentioned for this very reason. Themes are non-existent here because of the no lyrics whatsoever. And as you can see, current label unsigned, independent. That's very true, because this is factually independent thing. So Heterodoxa is the name of the EP and features only one member, Mircea Purdea, originally from Romania, if I'm not mistaken. He's known for his other one-man project Exhalus, which is some kind of a experimental sludge or whatever. I don't remember hearing it, but I have read about it. But Heterodoxa is what the stuff we were talking about, and this features 5 tracks through 22 minutes. And here it mentions digital only, and as you take a look at it, you will see that there is vinyl coming later on. This is prior to the vinyl date, and CD, which came out in hand with the digital release earlier in October. And lineup, nothing is mentioned, but it is this one man. So 5 tracks, who has been taking care of everything. What makes this interesting is that musically this is not exactly the black metal you're thinking of. Even avant-garde black metal can be kind of misleading, because musically a lot of those riffs are in fact some kind of combination of death and black metal ideas. But even that is kind of a misleading, because what this really is kind of a video game music blending into metal. Now obviously this is not the first or second time things like that have been happening. I mean, there are these other bands which have been putting especially retro kind of video game music into the world of metal, and of course similar things have been happening with rock music or pop music or whatever. But in terms of extreme metal, this is more unusual, because usually the extreme metal bands tend to be rather conservative rather than going like this. Or then there are these bands which are totally off the grid with their avant-gardist or experimental takes, and they go for other directions in general, and maybe don't even sound like black death metal thing. Riff-wise, however, Synthre has its roots into this very genre. Some ideas are more blackish, but in general I would say a lot of these ideas, depending on the production and whatnot, could really just fit the more modern take of death metal. Vocals-wise, now, there are vocals, but there's so much on the background, and they're not really growly, they're not really raspy, screamy. It's more like some kind of a background grunting in a way. And there are some female vocals which were mentioned in some review, but they're not done by real human being nor AI. They're actually synthesized effects, keyboards or whatever, so more analog than so much this current state of AI creating everything. it can be misleading, but I understand people are now thinking if they see a photography which is not that believable, then sure, they're outright, okay, it's AI. And the same thing is, of course, applied to a lot of music these days. If you get some kind of a hunch or feeling that something is not made real, AI. But this is worth mentioning because the artist himself told me that it's not really done by AI, but it's actually played with an instrument. So it's not a real person, but it's not AI either. There are more possibilities than going black or white. Musically, this thing is quite refreshing because it's somewhat original, and I like how this retro video game thing is played into the music. So it's kind of a perfect blend in that sense. However, because this is mostly instrumental, it feels like a lot of these songs have just like empty spots. Something that could really, use a real vocalist, in my opinion. And to be honest, the vocals on this given album, as little as they are not exactly the strong point of this one. I would say with proper vocalist, this could be definitely better. Don't know how much because it depends what kind of vocalist you're using. But musically, this combination is pretty interesting, and it works, especially when this is nothing more than 22 minutes. With a full album, things going this much instrumental could be a little bit more boring, but that is just my guess, wild hunch or whatever. I think Synthre is doing something new, and it's interesting, it's somewhat fascinating, but like I said, these songs could be more captivating and definitely, fill more of those empty spots. But definitely worth checking out if you want something unusual, something different. Now, links, as always, are included in the description box. Go give it a chance, and I hope you like it. Now, off you go. Bye-bye.